Because, by the way, one thing I would bring this back to is, I actually do feel like something I wanted to get your take on is, right, I was just thinking about this the other day. It could obviously be a reach. Like, I'm not using a big sample size here, but I want to just give you these 4 players, right? On paper, all 4 of these players, if they're playing CS2, should be the best. So the 4 players go like this. Simple, ZywOo, Rops, and Monacy. All just fabulous talents, very good CSGO players. But if you notice, of those 4, Simple doesn't even play CS2. ZywOo was a bit whatever at that first LAN, but then Rops and Monacy looked great at the first LAN, the Rops looked great at both, right? What I want to bring up as the point is this. When I think historically, Simple does have a very good work ethic, but in this case, he explicitly doesn't. He's even said he's not playing CS2, and he's even told other pros, don't play CS2 for like 3 months, because it might be shit. So we know he's not playing. ZywOo, famously, if people don't know, is actually considered one of those like geniuses that doesn't work that hard. It doesn't even have to scrim that much. He really does just turn up, you know, like DM for 5 minutes and go like, I am ready, and then just drop 30 or whatever. So the problem there is, just historically, I don't know if they have some crazy work ethic. Meanwhile, Rops and Monacy, pretty legendary for their work ethic. So I'm just going to put this out there. These 2 guys, and remember, people are even telling me the AWP doesn't work in the game. These 2 guys have just hit the ground running, and they're just the best in CS2. That has to be correlated with the fact that they also put insane hours in. Yes. And they have that mindset, if you notice, because the guys who find the bug, they have that mindset of like, I'm going to find something, I'm going to learn something new, I'm going to like level my game. Whereas those other 2, by the way, I think the other 2 are more talented, Simple and ZywOo, but it's like, are you guys actually trying though? Because the Simple one, I just don't like that for the attitude. It's sort of like, don't play, guys. And then the ZywOo one's just like, look, mate, you had played 1 billion Faceit games before you ever became a pro. You've got to put in the same hours in this game. By the way, you could probably be the best, but you've got to put the hours in.
So I'll just start on the ZywOo angle quickly. I think he has a tendency to level and go towards his average, which is out of this world, after a little bit of time. I think he doesn't really does well with changes. If you trace back his ratings and you kind of correlated with roster changes and moves that has happened.
Oh, right.
He kind of always has like a little bit of a downfall when something happens. And I just think that over time, because he's got such a rhythm where he plays his own game, he does his little Faceit, FPL, whatever he plays in there. I think over time he reaches again his usual level, and that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting him to have 2 or 3 months of sub-optimal in terms of performance. I mean, we're going to have to see in Copenhagen how he performs, but I do think he's going to need a little bit of time to adapt. If you remember, when Vitality went international, his first 2 months, I don't think he was in a conversation for best player in the world at all. I think he called back to that conversation after, let's say, Q2, like second quarter of the year or something like that. So usually he doesn't deal so well with changes, and I think he just has a very natural and sort of intuitive process to how he goes back to his level. And because he doesn't really overthink it, I think he just plays the game, and that's going to be it. So yeah, on that note, I'm not really that worried. I would say if after 3 months he hasn't reached his level, then this is where you're going to start sitting sweat on my forehead as I'm on the desk, and I'm going to have to try and use some copium on what's happening. But when it comes to Rops and Monacy, I think you're spot on the money. I think these are 2 players who had an extremely good mindset on how to deal with whatever situation was presented in front of them. And I think, obviously, we're getting philosophical. I kind of like when we do these kind of apartheid, right? I kind of like it. But the matter of the fact is there's only so many things you can control in your life, right? And one thing you don't control is the quality of the game that's coming your way and the changes that's going to happen. There's not something you have control over. The only thing you control is the mindset you're going to have, the work ethic you're going to put in, the amount of hours you're going to research, and the mindset you're going to kind of program yourself to be in regards to that game. And I think these 2 nailed it, right? They just said, well, you know, the game is the game. Is it perfect? No, but that's what I'm being given, and I'm going to be the best at whatever it is that's happening right now. And you couple that, obviously, with their incredible talent and the time they're putting on the server, and then they hit the ground running. And good for them. I think this should be like that. I think it's very important that players who have that kind of mentality prove to everybody that they get a head start, because everyone has to realize you want to just whine around and cry around about the game that you're playing right now. There's going to be some other people who are going to be much more open to whatever is happening. They're going to put in the time and they're going to beat you. And they're going to beat you, and you deserve to be beaten by these players. So good for them. Good for Monacy. Good for Rops. Have yourself a little bit of a 3. Because the way I see it is after 3 or 6 months, I think things were relatively stabilized. I think the gap is going to be breached a little bit. Some other people will probably catch up, and the meta would kind of fix itself and stabilize again. But just go ahead, just dominate a little bit. Dominate. You've earned it. And again, I think it's a really strong call to, the only thing you control is the amount of work you put in and the attitude you have towards the game. And these 2 seemingly have nailed it.
Yes. And also, I always can appreciate when the best players also do have like the best work ethic. It's why actually I think another player who doesn't always get his due is Device. Like, here's the thing. If you want to talk about like being a professional, he's the GOAT of that. I'll tell you that right now. If people don't know, it's not just that he watched those demos and heat maps like people heard. If people don't know, by the way, that's still rare to this day. Like, I mean, when I give this example of ZywOo there's no way he's doing that. Like, he might get told some things by the coach or Zonic or Xtaz or Apex might say, watch out for that. He's not like going and studying like when for real Device did study like Fallen demos or Simple or Kenny S or whatever. Like that's, I love it when players are not just really good, but it's, you can point for the younger people and go, look, you don't have to have his talent, mate. Look at how he approaches the game. Look at the way he holds his spots and how like disciplined he is or how he has protocols he follows and how he covers a teammate. Yeah, it's the best shit ever, mate. Absolutely.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.